sometimes they talk too much
It
about
seems
like the
unimportant.
money.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm like, where's the passion? But then
Yeah. Yeah.
there was one instance where I'm like, it's strange that I don't have a friend in this workplace.
Yeah.
Like, they are like all colleagues. This doesn't feel right.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Because I had the belief that I would be not liked as much when if my energy level drops in a social setting. So I keep trying to like increase it.
Oh
Um,
no.
and it's very tiring.
We have a special guest here. This is Tori. She also has her own personality type channel. You will find the link down below. And this video is about the social sexual stacking. So we both have that stacking, and we've also made a video on her channel about that stacking before. And you can also find that on her channel. So this video is just an overview of social sexual in case you are wondering if you might be one. And also for those of you who are interested in social sexual, I have some subscribers who are really into that stacking. So here we are. Okay, so we just start with the first question. How did you realize you're social sexual?
So I previously mentioned in my own MBTI channel personality story that I basically found out this about the stacking thing when I was doing some research on enneagram types. And at first I actually thought that I was self-preserving.
Hmm.
First, because I didn't have a good understanding of what the variants mean. And I assumed because I'm an introvert and I think I am pretty self preserving. So I just assume that self preservation will be first, followed by sexual and then social because I don't identify as in I don't really have like a very extroverted personality, even though it's sort of like in between now. But I sort of see the social ones as like a very like stereotypical ESFJ type of person. So
Yeah.
I just never knew that that would be me. But then I went to do the test online, and surprisingly, the results was the opposite, and it was social sexual, self preservation last. And then I read the description and I understood why. And it really did apply to me. Care a lot about connections, like my friends. Like friendships are really very important to me, and also relationships at work, relationships that are sort of part of daily life is really important. So if I don't have a very good or a positive network, I would tend to want to leave because it factors into my well-being a lot more than the self-preservation. For example, like I know that some people may keep a really high earning job, for example, if they don't get along with people there. But this is not something that I would be able to do, because the social aspect to me is really the most important. Like having that positive emotional atmosphere is actually more important to me than the salary. So that's when I knew that the social aspect is the
Yeah.
first one.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm nodding because yeah, it's very typical of social sexual. I can also relate. Um, yeah. Yeah, because yeah, the self-preservation is last. So things like salary, they still might be interesting, but the other instincts have the higher priority. So this is the sacrifice someone would do. We also sometimes obsess over our last instinct when we're unhealthy. Um, yeah, maybe you can
Mm.
also say something about
Me
that.
recently, me
Yeah.
recently, because so the question is about the last instinct.
Yeah, like did you have ever have moments when you would kind of obsess over that for some amount of time and then you would just drop it?
Yes, I do recently because I do have a friend. Basically, I she has a very strong self-preservation instinct, and she would care a lot about salary and working hours and all that. And I'm like, you know what? This is something that I should give more attention to, questioning how I have been neglecting. I didn't like use the term self-preservation, but I was just thinking about how I've been neglecting the more practical aspects and what I actually want financially for myself, because that's also really important as anybody, we still have to get that aspect.
Yeah. Actually, a healthy way how someone with self-preservation last can incorporate it. I also see it with myself and other social sexual people that they learn the most about a healthy way with self-preservation through someone else who has it
Yes.
in a good way. I see people who are self-pres last and who try to fix it themselves, then it can become more unhealthy, I think, because
Yes.
there's no good understanding of it really on your own. That's what I found, at least. Did you ever have struggles like that or not really? I mean, maybe not.
I think I did. I just like, I don't know why, but I tend to um not factor in the self-preservation just out of habit, I think. Like whenever I accept some task or opportunity, I always look at, oh, is this like in a field that I like, or is this like something that I find interesting? But I just like never really think about the salary aspect.
The practical aspect, yeah.
So yeah, I don't even like ask the necessary questions sometimes. Um, but actually, work-life balance is important to me. But I don't mind like doing things that I'm passionate about for a longer time. But I feel like the pay parts I have to be more insistent, because ever since I incorporated that, it actually helped me because I started getting higher paid um, like opportunities right after I implemented
Yeah.
that. So it's just
Yeah.
like a filter, you just filter out because you have limited time. But I think in the past, I really struggled because I somehow subconsciously believe that caring about self-preservation too much is not good. I
Mm.
think I dismissed that, but then I realized actually it's also important. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I judged people who are self-preservation first. I mean, not necessarily always, but I think I was slightly judgmental because sometimes they talk too much
It
about
seems
like the
unimportant.
money.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm like, where's the passion? But then,
Yeah. Yeah.
but then I realized both of them matter.
Yeah. The passion part is the sexual instinct. Yeah. I mean, you're making like a good case, I would say, for being balanced in some way in all instincts. I mean, I do recommend that once people have figured out their stacking and once they have a good level, let's say with the first and second instincts, then you can also go more to the third one to balance it out in a good way, like not trying to obsess over it, but still making sure that you also meet those needs.
Yeah.
So like some people think, oh, my last instinct means I should never do anything with it. Or other people have the opposite extreme where they think I should do everything about my last instinct to make it better. That's not the case either. So it kind of has to be balanced, but it's still good to also make sure that your first instinct is happy. So like I would assume in your case, if you were in a workplace that pays higher, but the people there are terrible, or like just, yeah, if you don't feel that connection, you would probably not do it, right?
Yeah, exactly. So I had a recent experience again, also regarding work. So I did some part-time work, and the people there were really friendly, and it was a creative environment, and it wasn't like very highly paid, but I would like look forward to going for that because it was decently paid, but it wasn't like the highest.
Mhm.
But I would definitely not mind going there compared to if I were paid double. But like if the environment was full of toxicity, I don't
Yeah.
think I would be able to deal with that. So yeah, I think the emotional connection and I just really love friendly work environments. Like it's just what I know there are some people who are like, you should like be challenged. I mean, I believe in being challenged, but I think there are better ways of being challenged than ways that impact your mental health badly. Yeah, I just in general I love when people are helpful in general, like in an environment where people are supportive and give like very constructive feedback. Obviously, it's not like going to be saying you are doing perfectly all the time, but it's just generally like the feeling that you are supportive and helping each other
Mhm.
and trying to all get better together and being really just like not having those like I don't know how to describe it like those I don't know like just the feeling, the general atmosphere, I pick up on that a lot. so so immediately it changes my mood. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it has a big impact on us. Yeah, social things, just yeah, being in an environment where the people are not toxic. It sounds so simple, but yeah. There's also stackings who are like social last, who don't really care that much about collaboration, for
Yeah, I've
example,
seen
or like
that. Yeah.
being part of some kind of group or work environment or the team. Like they might just remove themselves from that because they don't find it that important.
Just I mean it's enviable definitely now that I think about it. They can sort of just work hard and do their own thing.
The next question is, what do you find difficult about being social sexual? Are there any, yeah, difficulties, troubles with that?
I think putting the social dynamic to like too high in importance, putting it sort of as a really important part of my well-being, that is sometimes also a little um, restrictive because obviously different people in different environments sometimes just come and go, and you're not always able to get like people who are really supportive and helpful, and sometimes they're just certain types of people who may not be like creating that kind of atmosphere. And I feel like because of the social thing being so high up, it's difficult for me to not let it affect me compared to many other self-preservation types. Like they can just literally just earn the money and go. Like they just do their work really productively and they just leave the office the
Yeah,
moment the time is up.
yeah,
I tend to be a little more concerned with the social dynamics, and I can also like sometimes I also care too much about whether people like me. I think that it is something that I have to admit to myself that I do care
yeah,
about such things.
yeah.
Like I don't change myself, for others. I don't think unless it is really like I see an issue, then I would change. But I won't change just because, someone is maybe not able to be on the same wavelength or something. But it does affect me. So that's the thing. Like especially if it is a very long term, like you see someone every day and it keeps going on and you're stuck in like that one place. I think it affects me more than it would affect someone if they were not of a social instinct first. So that's like a really, I think it's inconvenient. And it's also inconvenient for my self-preservation, which I'm trying to improve, because people with less social focus and more self-preservation, they're able to get through things more. I feel like it doesn't affect their productivity, so they can like have higher earning power when they can just let things slide, and focus on the self-preservation.
Every first instinct has that, let's say, restrictive quality. I mean, this is why I said in my old, blog post that the first instinct can be your kryptonite. It's something you care too much about, relatively speaking. So
Yeah,
that,
yeah.
yeah, so that can create problems. And then people often try to go to the last instinct to balance it out. Yeah, I mean, I tend to say it's good still to focus more on the first and second instinct, but without also obsessing over it, which is easier said than done. But yeah, so yeah, like wanting to be liked, this is a very common problem with the social and the sexual instincts. I mean, this is especially a big issue with the social sexual stacking. Like they are also synflow, meaning that they tend to prefer going with the flow of life. Like they are not necessarily outwardly rebellious. So they would rather just have the group accepting them. That makes things much easier. And then it makes it really hard to be disliked. Like, this is really painful. I think one of the most painful things for the stacking, to be in an environment where many people dislike you. Like, for other stackings,
Yeah,
it's
that
less
is
common.
absolute no for me.
Yeah.
Like I'm leaving because of that. If that's the case, like even if I'm paid like a lot of money, I think I would still leave. If
Yeah.
if the majority of people
Yeah.
dislike me there,
Yeah, it's too painful. Yeah, I mean, I can say,
I
yeah,
feel painful. Yeah.
it's this stacking. I mean, alongside the sexual social, the stacking is one of those that really needs people. Just being around people, to some extent, also sexual first, like sexual self-praise also needs people in a way, but still, like social sexual, you really need to be around people and have good relations with them. And yeah, that can be tricky also if you're an introvert, right? So like, how do you try to
That's another thing. Yeah.
yeah, do that?
Yeah, I feel like it's so much easier if you are like maybe an ESFJ social sexual, because that's a very common instinct for them, I assume,
Yeah.
because they naturally are people oriented. But then again, they also get hated on because of their popularity. I mean, because of the fact that they know many people. So
Yeah.
they also get hated on as a result. And I think for me it's really like I need to put in the effort to find the people who like me, as in it's not difficult for me to find people who like me, but I have to like know where those people are, and I have to like be focused. For example, I know that generally I am able to get along with creative people because that's like who I am. So I tend to get along with them a lot better than like say finance people who don't. I feel like I don't know why, but okay, maybe I know why. They generally don't seem to like me because they think I'm really slow at the things that they value. Yeah. But not necessarily. Some of them are open-minded and they like creative people. As long as I'm not working with them, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, it's also the same
I think my
situation, I
speed
think.
just frustrates them. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think it's really like for social sexual people, especially if you're an introvert, you really have to go towards your people, and you have to make it like intentional, because if you just like randomly let life takes you somewhere,
Yeah.
it's not safe.
Yeah.
Like no, I just like nowadays I'm like I know there are certain environments that I tend to get along better with, mainly in the writing like film environments. I've tried it many times and it always works out for me. People are very friendly because firstly I'm operating with my strength, so it's not frustrating for them, and I'm contributing. And secondly, it's like we have similar personalities, so it's like naturally we tend to be able to get along, and obviously also in the MBTI community because we keep talking about the same thing. Yeah, so generally it's like you have to really go for that, because if you just like even for jobs and for like social circle wise, if you just randomly like let others choose for you, or you go for like the salary alone, I don't think that works either.
Yeah, no.
Wanted in a really like off environment. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it's really important for the social instinct to be in the right social environment. It's crucial. So
Yeah.
do you ever have issues with energy and social stuff, like as an introvert, to like having lower energy or needing to recharge and stuff, and then
Yes,
that kind of
definitely.
conflict? Did you ever have that?
Yeah. And I used to have, to be honest, I used to have a huge insecurity over that because I had the belief that I would be not liked as much when if my energy level drops in a social setting. So I keep trying to like increase it.
Oh
Um,
no.
and it's really tiring.
Yeah,
It's
no.
like and then after a while I would just like not I just cannot like keep it up,
Yeah.
so it just naturally drops for introverts. But then again, recently I found a solution for that, because I found a group of people, okay, not really a group of people, but I for some reason came across many people who actually prefer introverts, And that really boosted my self-esteem because I'm like,
Yeah.
because like obviously being liked is important for the social instinct, but every now and then I will remind myself of that fact. Like
Yeah.
there are many people who like introverts, and they actually, I mean, not trying to like be bad to extroverts, but they actually said, some of them actually said they are in fact quite put off by people who are like too loud in a crowd. And I'm like, you know what? It means that I don't have to pretend to be high energy anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
When the energy level drops, like I can be high energy sometimes when, especially when I'm in a group of friends. Like it just has a certain time limit,
Mhm.
especially if it is a very like huge gathering, then you have to like move from one group to the next. Yeah, but now I realize I just don't have to play that game anymore, because I actually found a lot of people who prefer introverts, including like people that I look up to, ironically, because I just like, I don't know why, but I had like a few like famous people that I looked up to, and I saw in an interview that they like introverts, and I just felt like, yeah, I it's sometimes you never know.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that you have to be a certain way to be liked. That's a relief. I mean, I always try to say that to myself, like, but I never really believed it, because I always thought that extroverts are like the more likable people,
Hmm.
because it's like, I guess the media sort of fed into that. And also like in school, I think I just assumed because they seem to be surrounded by people, but that's also because they tend to like have a higher energy, so they are able to go for more outings. But it actually doesn't mean that they're more liked in general. Yeah.
No, no, it doesn't. But yeah, it's a common issue. Yeah, introverts,
Yeah.
social first, people trying to act like extroverts in order to
Yeah.
seem
And
more
I see some
sociable.
people doing that.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm glad that
But
you,
no, there's no need to do that
yeah, that you
anymore.
don't need to do that anymore. Yeah, it's really draining and tiring, for sure.
Yeah, just be an extrovert. I mean, not extrovert, sorry. Be energetic when you feel like it.
Yeah,
Sometimes you just feel like it. It's fun. It's also like nice to see the other side. I don't think I'm like 100%, quiet and or anything like that. I think introverts can also have a very lively side.
the social instinct needs to feel like they're valued by the people around them or the group or in some way, society even sometimes. So yeah.
Yeah, and I saw like, just to share to fellow social instinct people, I saw like an exercise that really helps. Like basically you like remember, you try to remember times when you're very well liked. Sounds silly, but it's like you're encouraged to like write it down or keep thinking about it, and it really makes me feel really happy. Like there are actually many instances that I was in that kind of environment. So it just really feeds into the social needs.
Yeah. That's kind of funny, but
Yeah, it sounds like quite self-obsessed, but it really does
yeah.
help the social instinct people. Yeah.
Yeah, true. It's one of those fears of not being liked or being alone, for example. I think like the social
Yeah.
sexual
And then you just
person.
keep thinking about the times where you're well liked, and it
Yeah.
will like help you to offset that fear.
I mean, and I didn't understand it back then. I was like, oh, I'm such a I'm nice to them, right? Like I'm trying to be friendly and stuff. And I mean, yeah, like you said, it depends on who you get along with. Some people we just don't get along with them, or there's something off. And yeah, we cannot be
Yeah.
liked by everyone. So then it's better for the social sexual person to really focus more on specific people or specific groups, like that are more aligned with you than
Yeah. And keep
yeah.
thinking about that. It really does help the mental health
Yeah.
aspect.
Yeah. Yeah, okay. So, and then the last question is, what fulfills your instincts the most? What would you say?
Oh yeah, I forgot to talk about the sexual
Yeah.
instinct. Actually, the sexual instinct is a bit hard to define. I still have problems defining it. It's mostly about, from what I read, it's about passion and like
Mhm.
There's this like intensity and intimacy with people. I think that's what it values.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think definitely both social and sexual needs are fulfilled when, for sexual, it's when I have close friends that I can talk to on a daily basis. And I think it's so funny. I remember I overreacted in my first year of college because I was like, I don't have a close friend
Oh
that I can talk
yeah.
everything with.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
I was so obsessed over that because I moved to a different city and it's a very normal thing not to have a close friend in the first year. And I just had this unnecessary like fear, or I don't know. It's just I felt like, oh my god, I should be having a close friend whom I can talk to.
Yeah.
Because I had that in back in a different place. And so yeah, and I also obsessed over how I didn't have like, oh, I remember that was so funny. I in high school I obsessed over not having a clique, which was so stupid.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah,
Oh
that's
my
so
god,
typical.
that
Yeah.
was so stupid. I was like, why don't I have like I was like envisioning, oh yeah, on my birthday I was like envisioning this like clique giving
Yeah.
me presents.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
my god, it was so embarrassing.
Yeah.
And now that I think back, I'm like, that was like an unnecessary worry because I did have my friends. I mean, we were not like a huge clique or anything, but I did have close friends. And I was actually fine socially. I wasn't that bad. I
Yeah.
just was obsessing because it was like, the social needs acting up and the sexual needs wanting to have like a close friend. And I think right now I feel like after I went to college and after I got older, it's pretty much this area, friendship wise, is pretty much fulfilled because I did have my own clique, which was really
Yeah.
funny. But I posted pictures and I was really proud of it. But
Yeah.
yeah, I did have like my group of friends and I did have close friends. But I definitely feel like when you start working, your number of friends do drop because it's harder to find time to meet them. So I think that's when the social need is a little unfulfilled
Mhm.
because the group became smaller. Yeah. Like the number of people you're exposed to becomes smaller.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
the close friends still remain, so it's okay.
Yeah.
I think also the relationship, wanting a relationship with somebody is also like a sexual instinct
Mhm.
thing. Having that kind of connection, like being able to share your interests, especially like the interests that are considered less common. I think that's really important.
It's funny that you mentioned cliques and stuff. Like I remember I was so happy when I had a clique in like middle school or
Yeah,
something,
I was too.
but I
It
didn't
was
have
such
that.
an unnecessary.
Yeah,
Yeah, but
it's funny. Yeah,
now that
like
I think about it, I'm like, oh, it's not a big deal, but back then it was.
yeah. Or it's also important also for me to have like a work friend, like a kind of like a
Yes,
best friend at work.
definitely. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
important for me. Yeah, and then I'm like, there was one instance where I'm like, it's strange that I don't have a friend in this workplace.
yeah,
Like, they are like all colleagues. This doesn't feel right.
yeah, 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 yeah. I mean, the social instinct, yeah, gets the security from being part of a group that accepts them, right? Like being, and also with the sexual instinct, having a best friend that you're close to, that you can be
Yes.
yourself with. Yeah, yeah, that's really it. So, at the end, maybe do you have any like would you say any tip or advice, just like very shortly, for people who are social sexual?
I think like knowing that you are this way and being more accepting and also being more objective sometimes, like because I know now when I think back, like there are certain situations that I could be um making things a little too much, like putting too much importance on certain things that's it's really may not be as serious as it seems, like because with the social instinct sometimes we can overreact to certain social situations
Yeah,
when we assume people are not liking us, or I don't know, it's like we are very sensitive to that. but I think recognizing that we have this sensitivity, and sometimes we have to like calm ourselves down a little bit. Like for example, when I was in school, I was like, today is my birthday. Why are not enough people wishing me? And it was like, and then I realized it was because like I was in a different time zone and those people haven't woken up yet. So it's really small things like that when you recognize, oh, maybe sometimes, you really are you really are reacting too much to the moment, and you have to like think back, oh, is it really that personal, or is it really that big of a deal? Because sometimes the social parts affects us a lot more than other things.
Yeah.
And it creates stress, but it's not necessary that we have to get like controlled by our instincts.
Yeah.
Because
Right.
it's like sometimes like, oh, that person didn't smile at me, maybe that person is shy.
Yeah. I mean, the social instinct is often focused on what do most people seem to value around me, that kind of thing.
Right.
So
Yeah.
like, most people around me maybe seem to prefer extroverts. But then I was thinking, so it's also really important to remember quality versus quantity. Like especially the social instinct, they think, okay, if like 1,000 more people, let's say, wish me a happy birthday, it means more. Like, right? Like, or if I have way more
Yeah, I was
friends.
like I was
Yeah.
like looking at the number of people who wished me. I'm like, this looks quite high for this year. No, that was many years ago, not now,
Yeah.
but it was like way back when I was like, I don't know, not even, I think I was like 18 or something. It was
Yeah.
quite funny. Now I don't really look at the number anymore.
Yeah. Like,
Nobody use Facebook anyway. Nowadays people don't barely even go on Facebook. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, there's also the shift I also did. So like going from quantity versus like to quality, more like, I mean, the social instinct still wants to be part of a bigger group or have like a clique or something, but it's still more important to have like some quality good friends rather than like a ton of like tons of toxic people or something. Like
Exactly.
I
Yeah.
also noticed like sometimes like the social instinct can have like this when they're alone, like this feeling of loneliness can also be really aggravating, also for the sexual instinct for
Yeah.
other reasons. But then the social instinct person might feel like, okay, I'm just going to go to this certain group of people I know just because I'm so lonely. But then let's say this group is toxic, that doesn't really help. Like then it's really better to
Yeah.
be lonely for a bit more and find the better people for you.
Yeah. Like I think you have to learn to like be more soothing towards yourself, I think, whenever, something triggers that instinct. And you sort of like think other thoughts like, oh, but I'm well liked by these other people. So it's okay, everything is okay.
Yeah. And
Like, because
even,
sometimes it's
yeah.
just like it's just like something hits you because of some fears, basic fears of that instinct. And then you have to remind yourself it's not what it seems to be. Yeah. And there are actually a lot of people who value you, and yeah, things like that.
Yeah, and I guess I mean just at the end for people, I mean it's possible some social sexual people are really lonely and they might say no one really likes me. I mean that's possible. Then to still remember, well, I'm a human being. I deserve to be liked, like no matter what. And to just push yourself to find those people that
Beautiful. Yeah.
you would get
Yeah,
along
and
with.
not assume the worst, and not assume the
Yeah.
worst when you see like signs of rejection. Like
Or
I used to be so easily like affected by that, but now I'm like, no, actually a lot of those situations, it's not personal.
yeah, I would still like to really clarify. Yeah, so the social sexual person is really affected by having good friends. Like that's important for them, having a good social circle, being kind of part of the group or a clique or something that fits them. Also, following a passion or creativity or creating something or a good relationship with a partner and self-preservation. Sometimes it's still good to focus on it, depends, not obsess over it, but to have more balance. And in the end, like I said before, quality versus quantity. So let's like in the example of the rude person, maybe let's say, well, it's a matter of are you going to be alone, or are you going to be around a rude person all the time? Then you kind of have to figure out, okay, what is the what is quality? a rude person is not really quality. Like you don't need to be accepted by that one person. It's better to, you know, find people who accept you, right? That's high
Yeah.
quality.
And I think assuming things like it also plays a huge role because a lot of times it's a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Mhm.
Like if you keep assuming like certain things means that you are, that someone doesn't like you may act in a way that seems really aloof
Yeah,
as well.
unlikable.
So it's like honestly just assume the best because um it helps a lot. Like even if you think that that person doesn't like you, you can also give other reasons, like maybe they just are like having that temperament, or they had like something else that happened to them and on that day, and they sort of like are acting out, and normally that's actually what's going on with that type of people. So yeah, I think the mindset helps a lot when it comes to interpreting social dynamics.
Yeah. Yeah, all right. Okay, I think we can close it here.
Yeah.
So don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and you can also check out her channel. You find the information below. Okay, bye.
Okay.